What's up guys, Josh aka SavageHydraa here, and welcome back to the how-to series, hoping to give you all the stuff you need to know to start planning, building and using your own competitive Pokemon teams. Last episode we looked at stat modifiers including IVs, EVs, natures and actual in-battle effects, and this week we're moving on to actual in-game battle items. The sort of things you will give your Pokemon for hold items when you're using them competitively. So to start off, we'll go with the offensive items that are in the game. The most obvious that are here to point out are the choice items, and these will lock you into one move once you've actually used a move, but does give you a 50% boost to one of your stats. That locking into a move only applies as long as you stay in battle. So if you switch something out or switch it back in, it's not still locked into that same move. And also if the choice item is for whatever reason removed, the choice effect and the stat boost are both lost because the item is no longer there. So for example, if it's knocked off or tricked away or something like that, you lose those bonuses, but you also lose the negative impact of the being restricted to only the one move continuously. There's the choice band, which gives you a 50% boost to attack, the choice specs, which gives you a 50% boost to special attack, and the choice scarf, which gives you a 50% boost to speed. In addition to that, there's some few items that have some other negative effects in exchange for some extra power. The first being the life orb, and this basically just boosts the power of any direct attacks. So things that do deal direct damage, so it will just deal general attacking moves. It will boost their power by 30%, but upon landing a hit with one of those attacks, the user will lose 10% of their maximum health on hit. So it's not as strong as the choice band or the choice specs, but it doesn't carry the restriction of the locking into one move, but you do have another downside with losing maximum HP each turn. A final offensive item that I'll mention is the Expert Belt. The Expert Belt, again, has no negative effects, but it's not as strong as these other offensive items in the fact that it only increases the damage dealt by super effective moves, and the boost is only by 20%. That doesn't stack either, so if it's a 4 times effective move, that's a bit of a mouthful, it will still only boost by 20%, because it's still like a percentage increase. It's not like 20% twice, because that would be 40%, which would be ridiculous. So because you're already dealing 4 times damage, an extra 20% on top of that is going to be more than enough. Onwards to some defensive items. There's a few less common defensive items. I think there's only 3 that I'm going to cover here that are only really actually used so much. Defensive items pretty much all come into a lot of the time recovery items, which we'll cover in another screen. The first up is the Assault Vest. It boosts special defense by 50%, but only allows the use of direct damage moves. So if you give something an Assault Vest, it can't use any setup moves, Encore, Taunt, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, anything like that. It can't use any support sort of move pools or set up anything. So it's really good for things with diverse offensive move pools and good bulk. So something like a Conkeldurr can run Muck Punch, Drain Punch, Knock Off, and then say Stone Edge or Earthquake or something. Or Ice Punch is another common Conkeldurr move. And can use that and put the Assault Vest on it, and it becomes really nicely bulky because it's incredibly high health stat. Another option is the Eviolite or Eviolite, however you're going to say it. I will normally say Eviolite. It boosts both the defense and special defense by 50%, as opposed to the Assault Vest only boosting special defense. So it makes something really bulky, but this does have the drawback that it only works on a Pokemon that hasn't reached its final stage of its evolution chain. So for example, Dusclops gets the boosts from an Eviolite, which generally is why people run that instead of Dusknoir, and the same reason of why Chansey, for example, is used a lot more than Blissey and why Chansey itself is actually OU while Blissey is only UU. Because it makes Chansey much more bulkier than Blissey is by giving it the Eviolite. The third and final item I'll cover here in the defensive items is the Rocky Helmet. Basically, when a Pokemon that is holding the Rocky Helmet is hit by a move that makes contact, the attacker receives damage equal to 1/6 of their own maximum health in damage. So it's basically it's an item that gives the opponent recoil on moves that make contact. This compounds really well with stuff like Rough Skin on, say, a defensive Garchomp, and things like Iron Barbs on a Ferrothorn or Ferroseed, although Ferroseed normally in like Little Cup and stuff will be more often than not Eviolite, because that makes it really bulky, for Little Cup anyway. And generally you'll see like Ferrothorn, Garchomp, and a few other defensive Pokemon have this, like maybe Skarmory, because Skarmory has access to decent recovery with Roost, so you give it a Rocky Helmet, so if it as a physical wall, it can go in, wall a physical hit, and then also deal some damage back in return if it's a contact move. Moving on to recovery items, you have Leftovers, which will basically at the end of the turn will heal for 1/16 of the maximum health. You have the Black Sludge, which is the same as Leftovers, but only works for poison types. If something holding Black Sludge is not a poison type, it actually receives damage equal to the 1/16 of max health instead of the heal. So that can potentially provide some interesting sort of things to mess around with things like Trick and Switcheroo. But it's kind of iffy. Generally you just have this on a poison type. It's really useful on stuff like VGC as well, because it means that you can have Leftovers and Black Sludge. Because in VGC there's the item clause, which means that you can only have one of each kind of item on your team. The Toxic Orb is another kind of recovery item. It's generally it's only used on things that have Toxic Heal, so basically Gliscor and Breloom. And basically if you've got the Poison Heal ability, if you're poisoned, you heal for 1/8 of your max HP at the end of the turn from the poison instead of being damaged by it. So this is really good for those. Otherwise, anything holding the Toxic Orb at the end of the turn, if it's not got another status effect on it, it will be badly poisoned. That can be useful on something with, say, Quick Feet, like an Ursaring, or maybe a Jolteon, although Jolteon's crazy fast anyway, a lot of times you run specs on it, or a Life Orb. But Toxic Orb can also be useful for some Guts users, such as Flareon or something, even though Flareon's low tier because it's awful move pool, but I won't go into that in massive depth here. But the Flame Orb is another thing I'll just quickly mention here. This is on the same kind of power as a Toxic Orb. Nothing heals from burns, but Guts is something that really benefits from the Flame Orb, because Guts doesn't get a drop in attack that Burn applies. That being a stat modifier was mentioned in the last video, and basically Guts boosts attack by 1.5 times when they have a status ailment, so a Burn is perfect for that. And because Burn, although it does more damage than standard poison each turn, as Toxic racks up, a Burn actually does less damage over time, so it's a better option for Guts users, unless they're obviously a Flareon, which is a fire type and can't be burned. So there's a few consumable items that you'll often see in battle as well. Obviously I haven't gone over all of the items in the game and all of the hold items, because there's a lot. I'm kind of going over the most common things you'll see. There's something called a Focus Sash, and if a Pokemon holding the Focus Sash is at full HP, that is really important. It has to be on its absolute max HP. If it's even lost 1 health when it takes a hit, the Focus Sash is useless. If a Pokemon that's got full health takes lethal damage from 1 move, it has to be in 1 move. The item is consumed, so they no longer have the Focus Sash, but it will leave the thing that has consumed the Focus Sash with 1 health. So it's pretty much it's like an item that gives you Sturdy. is basically the best way of describing that. The weakness policy is a much more offensive consumable item. You want to have it on something really bulky, because when something holding a weakness policy is hit by a super effective attack, the weakness policy is consumed to grant +2 in both attack and special attack. So you take a move that you're normally normally weak to, and if you actually survive it, you're given basically your attack and special attack are doubled until you switch out. It's really good on things such as Aegislash, although Aegislash is Uber's. What else is weakness policy really good? Stuff like Sturdy. Things with Sturdy are often quite good with weakness policies, like Barbarical actually benefits really well from a weakness policy, although it doesn't have Sturdy, but that's normally run with oh no, that's not what it is. That's to do with Focus Sash and Shell Smash, which is another thing that you can do with a Focus Sash, is use it to take one turn to set up and then go through with a really strong move. Say if you've given a Shell Smash, you got double your attack, double your special attack, and double your speed, you're a threat. But you have got reduced defenses, but you run the Focus Sash to make sure you live that one turn. But the weakness policy is good for things with Sturdy, such as, for example, another water and rock type Caracosta, where it has Sturdy. It will guaranteedly survive the one hit, even though it's 4 times weak, say, to grass, and then get +2 in its attack and special attack, and then can just start running through things. Another consumable item that you see every now and again is the White Herb. Basically, when a Pokemon that has the White Herb is subjected to a stat drop, that can be self-inflicted through something like Shell Smash or an opponent's effects. It is consumed to restore any of the negative stats, so any stats that have been dropped will be restored to normal. For example, a Shell Smash user that has a White Herb will Shell Smash, get their boost to attack and their special attack and speed. They will get a stat drop in defense and special defense, the White Herb will activate, be consumed, and the defense drops will no longer apply. So it's really good for stuff like that. It's good for things such as Leaf Storm users, or also the Overheat, because it will mean that you can use 2 in a row at full power without taking the stat drops. Another alternative to this, another herb item, is the Power Herb, although it's a lot less common. It's normally used on things that Power Herb basically means that a move that is normally 2 turns will only take 1 and consume the Power Herb to use up the charge turn. So for example, if something's using Solar Beam, it can use Solar Beam, the Power Herb is consumed, and it uses Solar Beam on the same turn instead of having to wait 1 turn to charge. The same works with something like Sky Attack, or something like maybe Phantom Force and stuff. I think it works with as well. But generally you'll see it most often than not on something like Hawlucha that has Unburden, because Hawlucha can just go Sky Attack in 1 turn instead of having to charge for it, and then start following up afterwards with Acrobatics, because it's got no item and it has its Unburden boost to give it a massive boost to speed. Another thing about Unburden users as well, a normal gem can become in quite useful. That's particularly for the Hitmonlee, which will normally have normal gem fake out and then get its Unburden boost to start running through things as it gets really fast. So I'm in no means going to go over all of the berries. I'm going to go over the ones that are going to be by far the most common, because there are so many berries with so many different effects that's just not going to be worth it. First up is pretty basic, it's the Citrus Berry. It is consumed to restore 25% of the Pokemon's max health when the holder falls to 50% health or less. So as soon as it reaches yellow health, the Citrus Berry will try and activate, assuming you survive the hit as well. When you survive and are in yellow or lower health, the Citrus Berry will activate and restore HP. The Lum Berry will be consumed to heal the holder of any status condition. So a burn, sleep, freeze, paralysis, any of that will be cured with the Lum Berry. It also works with confusion, although don't think it works with infatuation, although that's really not common. You won't see things using Attract or Q-Charm a lot at all. Chesto Berry is normally used on what is known as Resto Chesto sets, so it's basically used to wake a Pokemon up when it is put to sleep, so you can start setting up with things like, say, a Snorlax, setting up curses, get to low health, heal with rest, and then you wake up full health and you haven't actually lost like 2 turns from being asleep. Other berries exist that reduce damage from super effective hits. This is good for 4 times weaknesses and other things that are generally quite fragile. So something like Scizor or Ferrothorn might want to hold a berry that gives it that reduces the damage from fire type attacks or something along those lines. Other Pokemon benefit from it too, other things with 4 times weaknesses. There's other ones that, such as the Pitaya Berry, which is probably most famous for being on Substitute Empoleon. If you have a Substitute Agility Empoleon, which is actually a pretty strong set since Gen 4, you can start setting up substitutes, set up agilities behind the substitutes, and then once you get below, I believe it's 25% health, or it might be below 50, I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but it will give you a +1 in special attack, so you're really fast, you're behind a substitute, you've put yourself below that health with the substitutes, so then you basically get your free +1 from the berry and can start running through things with a high special attack stat. So berries, I would advise that you go and look up if you're looking for a berry for a particular thing, a particular purpose, because there are a huge amount of berries out there, and it's going to be a bit of a pain if I were to try and explain all of them to you. So I've given you kind of the basics and the most common ones you'll see here. Another one that's potentially good to mention is the Persim Berry. It's basically better for things that might want to use Petal Dance or Outrage, because it exclusively cures confusion. So you can run through with, say, like a Choice Banded or Choice Scarfed Outrage or Petal Dance, get to the end of it, cure your confusion, and keep going. So it can be quite useful, especially when it's something that might, say, be immune to burns or paralysis. So you can get away with not having the Lumberry, because obviously if something trying to use Outrage like a Haxorus, if it gets burned, it's going to be ruined. So the Lumberry is going to be far superior there. I can't believe I just said that. I said about like banding something that's got a Persim Berry. That can't happen. Ignore me. I'm bad at the game. But yeah, so Persim Berries are good for curing exclusively confusion if it's something you can try and pull off. But generally, Lumberry is the preferred option to cure any status conditions, such as if you get spored randomly and you don't want that. Paralysis, burns, sleep, freeze, the random freeze that might happen in one place or another. Lumberries are generally preferred over Persim. But that should be it to cover your battle items for this video. If you found it useful, then do leave a like, or if you think that anyone else could find it useful, then do also leave a like, because the more likes, the more spread, the more people can see this video and hopefully get some use out of it. Other than that, if you want to see more of this sort of video and are getting a lot of use out of these, be sure to subscribe as well, because that means that as soon as I upload more, they'll pop up in your sub box and you can find them really easy. If you think I've missed anything really important in this video, I know that I haven't gone very much into depth with items, but I've just kind of mentioned the things that are most important, I feel, in terms of battle items, then do leave a suggestion in the comments about what you think I've missed. But if there's also anything you think I can improve in these videos in general, then also do leave that down below in the comments as well. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.